Welcome in, everyone. Matt McCluskey, host of Matt Mix Sports Fix, the web version, powered by newvisions.com. Big show today. I say that every week, but it is good to be back on the web waves, and we will be talking a little softball, baseball, putting a bow on those seasons for high school, and more baseball with the Watertown Rams season underway. 7 games in 7 days. The Rams just endured an amazing stretch of the schedule. And a night off, back at it. We'll explain exactly where the Rams stand, where they are hopefully going in the PGCBL. Also today, Watertown Red and Black, about a week and a half away from starting the season. So a lot to get to, but first and foremost, let's go backtrack a little bit here with softball. Sandy Creek, the Comets, unfortunately had their season come to an end in the Class C state quarters. Losing to Thomas Edison, offense just could not get going in that game, but Sandy Creek, a powerhouse, still a very successful year. Obviously, with a Class C Section 3 championship, that makes 13 titles for Sandy Creek in the last 19 seasons. Unbelievable. And the bigger news surrounding the Comets right now is Bill Fowler, the coach for the Comets, retiring. Announced it last week, and the Watertown Daily Times reported it on Sunday. Fowler told the Times that basically he wanted more, quote, freedom in his personal life. He has been the head coach for Sandy Creek for a better part of a decade, I think about 12, 14 years now. Obviously well-deserved. Congratulations to Fowler on his amazing run as coach and continued success in whatever he does afterward. But again, take in note, 13 championships last 19 years. That predates Fowler, but obviously a lot of that under him. He is a legend locally in softball. That will be felt. Right now it's a little off the radar because the season's over. We're in June, graduation season, summertime. But roll to next spring, and Sandy Creek will be something to keep an eye on given that change of leadership. Turning to baseball, rather, and that's South Louis. Falcons, unfortunately, also met the same fate as the Comets. Falcons go down in defeat to Seton Catholic out of Binghamton in the Class C section, or the Class C state quarters for baseball. Listen to this statistic. South Louis, during the entire game, placed 5 base runners. 5. That's it. That's all. They struck out 11 times. Brutal. But sometimes that happens. You have aces going against each other in the quarters, especially with the way that sectionals played out this year. There were a lot of off days in between, and that allowed for everybody, once the states to start, it allowed everybody to get their aces on the mound. And unfortunately, South Louis ran into a buzzsaw. But again, great year for the Falcons. Only about 2 losses, I think, regular season, 3 total now, Class C Section 3 champs. So once you get to the states, it's a bigger crapshoot than even sectionals, and anything can happen. Unfortunately for South Louis, it was not their day about a week ago at OCC. But still, a couple Class C Section 3 champs with South Louis in baseball and Sandy Creek in softball. So we tip our cap to them, and that officially puts the end on the Scholastic season locally. Unfortunately, we didn't get a state champ out of it, at least here in the Jefferson, Lewis, St. Lawrence area, but nice runs by a lot of teams, made for great stories right here on the show, and we look forward now to the fall, which will bring us football and soccer. We will cover it extensively. Now, speaking of football, as I said, the Red and Black season starting soon. We'll talk about that. And the Rams season in full swing right now. Get that full swing. We'll talk about the Rams after this quick commercial break on Matt Mix Sports Fix, powered by newvisions.com. There was no rest for the weary as the Watertown Rams opened the season last week at the Watertown Fairgrounds, actually opening on the road and then playing Game 2 at the Fairgrounds. But since that point, since the start of the season a week ago, the Rams have had 0 days off. Tough. 7 games, 7 days. But that's the way it goes in the PGCBL, which the Rams play in, and that's the way it goes really in baseball, especially in collegiate baseball during the summertime. You have a condensed schedule, you got to get a ton of games in, and you just got to roll with it. And that's what the Rams do every year, and that's what they are hopefully doing this year. 7 games in, Rams sit at 3-4. But interesting to note, Watertown started 0-2, looked a little shaky in the beginning. Since that point, though, pitching has definitely turned around, and not just starting pitching, but actual bullpen closing out close games. Now here you see the last 2 games, losing to Utica, turning around, beating Mohawk Valley 5-4. And again, that bullpen has been key so far for the Rams. Now, as of this taping, Watertown actually just enjoyed that day off finally, and then it hits another just grinder of day after day, game after game. Watertown is actually in action day of this taping, but on Sunday, Father's Day, Watertown will be back at the fairgrounds. So if you're seeing this not live, which likely not since we don't air it live, Sunday is the next chance to get down to the fairgrounds and watch Watertown play. It is Father's Day. It's a 5 o'clock start. You know all the activities that go on at the fairgrounds. You know the third base crew of fans that are always a ton of fun. So if you're looking for something to do on a beautiful Sunday, by the way, it's supposed to be in the 80s, get down to the fairgrounds, enjoy it, treat dad, have a good time. It's my soapbox. I get up here, where the reason we do this show, the reason I do my radio show, which by the way airs Friday mornings, 7 to 9 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio, is one of the reasons that I want you all to get out and really take advantage of what there is what's offered here. Be it the Rams, be it the Red and Black, which we'll talk about in a second, or the Privateers, or any of the great schools with their programs. There's things to do here locally. So many people say, well, there's not anything to do. So many people say, well, that's offered, but I don't really care about it. You should, and the Rams are definitely one of those things. These are collegiate players, by the way, for the Rams from around the country and even the world. Canadian members on the team this year. I believe they've gone to other countries in years past to get members of this team. Personally, I have a great time down there, and it's a team that won the division last year, is probably going to contend for that this season, and who knows, maybe even go further. But the Rams, one of those things offered in the North Country that you should absolutely take advantage of. Get down to the fairgrounds. Again, next opportunity will likely be Sunday to see Watertown at home, and then check the schedule for more home dates. Or if you want to travel on the road and watch the Rams. And that's at watertownrams.com. We're going to take a commercial break. We just talked about the Rams. Keeping it with alliteration, let's talk Red and Black. Season is about a week away, at least preseason. That means football. How exciting is that? We have the World Cup going on. Everyone's talking soccer. I don't want to do that. We're talking football. Next, Matt Mick Sports Fix, powered by newvisions.com. And we are back here on Matt Mick Sports Fix, powered by newvisions.com. If you want to help us put this show on, if you want your business's name spotlighted on our commercial breaks, check out newvisions@gmail.com. That's newvisions@gmail.com. It appears magically every time I say it. And we do need help doing this. And you can put your business's name right, maybe even right over here over my shoulder in the commercial breaks. But it allows us to get out more and be able to do more with this show, because we do want to do an awful lot more, but obviously that means we need a little help. So if you're so inclined, please do at newvisions@gmail.com. And a little housekeeping, actually. Speaking of newvisions.com, June 28th, Saturday night, 7 o'clock, Pro Football Hall of Fame, Pat Cloran, from a local boy who went to Syracuse, played for the Steelers, I guess, enjoyed a great career professionally, will be inducted at the Pro Football Hall of Fame into the AFA Hall of Fame, and that's June 28th, 7 o'clock. Pat Cloran, major honor for him. Very exciting to have that local tie, local effect going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Check it out live at newvisions.com. That's newvisions.com for the Pro Football Hall of Fame induction of Pat Cloran. Very, very cool, very exciting, and you will be able to see it on the 28th, which is from about a week away, whenever you're looking at this. So don't forget, put that in the old mental bank that you can see it live at newvisions.com. Now, speaking of pro football, at least semi-pro, Watertown Red and Black, season almost here. It's right around the corner. In fact, it's about a week away, June 21st, actually. So you have 2 weeks for Pat Cloran, about a week for Red and Black, and that's preseason opener at home against Western Connecticut, the Militia. Western Connecticut Militia, very strange name, the Militia. Something seems kind of off with that one. But Militia, actually a team that has won 3 straight conference championships in its own conference, not at all affiliated with the Empire Football League, but a little further south in Connecticut. A team that has produced a lot of great talent. In fact, the Militia last year averaged over 36 points a game. This will be a tough preseason test for Coach George Ashcraft and the Red and Black. And again, that's June 21st, the usual kickoff down at the fairgrounds, a little after 7:30. And then from there, the Red and Black actually have some time off, and then they start the season, do the Red and Black, on the road July 12th. The home opener, the real official home opener, will be July 19th back at the fairgrounds. And again, just like I said with the Rams, the Red and Black institution, oldest semi-professional team in the country, probably in the world, I would assume, for football. And it's just a great time every year. So please do check it out, get down there. But that first game against Western Connecticut, the EFL is comprised of teams from all over the region. You go a little further up, a little further south, but basically you're sticking in that New York corridor between Vermont down to Syracuse, a little further down now with Glens Falls teams. And they're great talent, without any doubt. Some fantastic players, fantastic teams. But the Western Connecticut game to start the year might be the toughest on the schedule for the Red and Black. It's a great litmus test to find out for Coach Ashcraft and company exactly where the team stands. And luckily, it doesn't count in the division, it doesn't count in standing schedule, but at least preparation-wise for the season, it'll be a great test to open with. And there's a little news and notes with a quarterback situation for the Rams. They actually were looking at starting a quarterback who played at the University of Auburn. Kind of. He played, just didn't play. He was on the team. He was actually on the team when Cam Newton was under center. Unbelievable story there. The kid obviously has a ton of talent, but there's some issues. Maybe he won't be able to actually compete for the Red and Black this year. He's at least with the team now. Keep an eye on that. Kid from Auburn who played under Cam Newton, was in the championship game, may or may not actually be on the field this season. The plan was for him to start at quarterback. Now it's looking like that's kind of in limbo, but one of the reasons you should get down to the fairgrounds for that preseason game to see who is under center and how it goes. Going to be fun. We will have it, of course, covered right here each and every week on the Sports Fix. Now, let's hit a commercial break, and we'll come back and put a bow on this week's edition and tell you a little bit about next week as we inch closer here to the actual start of summer. And that actually means a little Syracuse basketball news and notes. We'll explain all of that next as we put a bow on this edition. We'll be right back with more of Matt Mick Sports Fix, powered by NewVisions.com. And that just about does it for us here at Matt Mick Sports Fix for this week's edition. Do want to make a couple of news and notes, though, about next week. We will have, obviously, as I said, more on the Rams. Inching closer to the Red and Black, we'll have probably a little more feature-y anyway, on the Red and Black next week. Also, we are inching closer to the NBA draft, and that pertains specifically to Syracuse basketball players like Tyler Ennis, CJ Fair, and Jeremy Grant. All three likely to hear their names called in the draft in a couple of weeks now. Fair, probably second round. Ennis, Grant are two players to keep an eye on in that first round. Potential lottery pick in Tyler Ennis, and certainly Grant, probably in the top 25 he'll go. So next week, more on that draft. Exciting time for fans. Even though this doesn't pertain specifically to SU, as these players are now away from the program, there's always a bit of pride factor for Orange fans, or any fan of any program out there, when a player is taken high in the draft. It makes you feel kind of good, even though it has nothing to do with a game, a win or a loss. It's just a little something to it. So we will get into that. Also, by the way, announced this week, SU basketball, a 4-year deal with Georgetown. They will play a home-and-home series with the Hoyas starting in the 2015-16 season, and that's music to any Orange fans' ears. To finally get Georgetown back on that schedule. Last time these two teams played, 2013 in the Big East Championship, in the tournament, in the semis, at the Garden. That was an amazing game. That last year, Georgetown beat Syracuse twice in the regular season, and every game felt like a championship fight. Crowds into it, coverage of it. There was a lot of fun. That Garden game, though, in the tournament, there's nothing like that game. Remember the CJ Fair dunk on Otto Porter that basically ended it. Just a brilliant game. And the fact that these two teams didn't play this last season, won't play the coming up season, just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't feel right. So we're getting that back finally. You have to wait another year. 2015, I think it'll be in December. It'll start in D.C., and then it'll come back to the Dome in 2016. But that's good news for anybody who's an Orange basketball fan, or really a hoops fan in general. You get rivalries like North Carolina and Duke, and there are others out there, but Syracuse and Georgetown is right there on that level. Right there on just intense and a lot of times hatred and fun and just real basketball. And it's nice to have that back. You'll have Boeheim and Thompson going at it again in a couple years. So that's just a little news and notes on SU, but we'll have more in the draft next week. But for us now, we're going to get out of here. For everyone behind the scenes, I am Matt McCluskey. Thank you so much for logging on. I absolutely appreciate it. And also, hit us up on the email, mattmicksportsfix@yahoo.com, as I want your take, not just on the show. Again, tell me how good looking I am, or how smart or witty or clever I am, but I actually want you to give us a player, a team, a community to highlight, to spotlight, especially this time of the year. Scholastically, sports are done, but we have AAU teams, we have Babe Ruth leagues, Little Leagues, all sorts of ideas and things to get out and get highlights of, interviews of. Email us, and that's how we will do it, and we will get it right here for you online. It's mattmicksportsfix@yahoo.com. All right, really, that's it for me this time. I do have to go. But again, thank you for logging on. We will see you again next week with another Matt Mick Sports Fix powered by newvisions.com.